Steeler Nation needs to lower their expectations with Kenny Pickett. It's been a wild week with Matt Canada. He got fired only a few days ago. And that transition from him being fired to the new guys stepping up, I can't imagine that would be an easy process to handle, right? And now the Matt Canada system and the Matt Canada offense has been absolutely awful, and it needed to happen. It had to happen. But here's one thing I want to say about this whole Kenny Pickett thing. We're 2 days away from the game. So the game's happening 1 p.m. Sunday. There's still the talk around Kenny Pickett. He's been like this, the focus right now because he has been playing bad football. I'm not discounting him saying he's the best quarterback out there. He has been playing really bad football. But I think we need to lower our expectations of what we think is going to happen or what can happen over the next 7 games, right? Because we have Kenny now in this spot without Matt Canada. And I've been saying all week we need to separate these two things, or the players have to try and separate themselves from the Matt Canada madness that was for 3 years. They have to. And the only way they do that is by going out there and performing, throwing TDs, getting yards, getting first downs, and winning the game. That's how they do that. But I think as a fan base too, we have to lower our expectations just that of Kenny Pickett, right? He still only had played, I think, 22 games in the NFL. And there are guys in the NFL, like I talked about, I think, a few days ago, with Josh Burrow, Joe Burrow, whoever they are, or Josh Allen. They're still parts in their game where they fail. It's football. Not every game can be perfect. Not every game can be like Dak Prescott, where he goes and gets 4 TDs and they win 45-10. At the same time, though, you've seen Dak Prescott play some bad football in numerous years too. So when it's good, it's good. And when it's bad, then fans come out and say they need to fire Kenny. They need to get rid of Kenny Pickett. So I've been hearing this question, should he be the future? Like, ever since Canada's been fired, is Kenny the future? What's going to happen at that position? Should they go and trade him? Should they go and cut him? Next year, should they go to the draft? I don't think so. The Steelers don't take a quarterback in the first round to give up on that player only 2 years in on the four-year contract and the 5th-year option. So we still have 7 more games to go for him to turn around and get better every week. We have no Matt Canada there. So hopefully you have Faulkner has designed a good game plan to get the run game involved and don't abandon the run. You lean on the run game to get Kenny prepped and ready to go. I want to see Warren and Najee carry the ball 25 times, 20 times each. And even McFarland there too. And then Kenny Pickett throw the ball 25 times or 24 times, something like that, for 200 yards, maybe 1 TD. I don't want to see Kenny Pickett out there for like 50 passes or attempts to try and go and win the game. We know he can win the game in the 4th quarter, right? But I don't want to see him put all the pressure on him to go and win the game and say, now it's going to be this team won't be a pass, first team or a pass happy team. Now, you can go and shock the opposition, that is the Bengals, and think, well, they might be running the football because that's the way they're designed to do things with Najee, Warren, and hopefully McFarland back there. And, of course, now the offensive coordinator, Eddie Faulkner, is a running backs coach. So you would think a central theme around the offense would be the run game. But this overall high expectation of Kenny to, it's either Matt Canada or it's Kenny's fault, and they give him a leeway of 1 game is insane to me. Absolutely insane, right? If Kenny does bad in this game and 15 for 25 or 15 for 20 or something like that, and 102 yards and maybe a pick, the absolute yinzer of all yinzers are going to run out of here and start yelling, fire Kenny. The narrative is going to change from all the blame being on Matt Canada to now all the blame being on the quarterback, right? Whatever happened, though, to the team, or whatever happened to the offensive line? Offensive line last week didn't play good football. They couldn't block. They couldn't do anything. They were letting Myles Garrett go swim move, see you later, up the guts, and tackle Kenny. It's not all just on the quarterback. So first of all, I want to see the fans try and lower your expectations. And sometimes it's even easier to enjoy the game that way. And you're like, you know what? I don't know if we're going to win or not. I hope they do. Let's just have some beer and see what happens and enjoy the game. But if you have a high expectation of like Kenny has to be here right now into his second year, if he's not the guy right now throwing 3 TDs, getting 400 yards, then he's not the future of the Steelers. I don't understand that argument. I don't get it. The other one I wanted to bring up too was the idea around excuses. There's no more excuses. That's crazy to me too. They legit just fired, no matter if we liked Matt Canada or not. The Pittsburgh Steelers just fired their offensive coordinator. That's one big excuse. I'm sorry, it really is. If they don't play well in this game, it's not like it's a brand new playbook. It's not like they have an influx of, okay, this is going to be a totally different team. It won't be. It's going to be the same plays, but hopefully moved in a different order and also different schemes as well. And also, you've got to finish a drive. We hope that Mike Sullivan can figure out how to go down the field in 5 minutes to get a field goal or to get a touchdown, whereas Matt Canada couldn't do that, right? Numerous times in his career, he stuffed up like that. The Browns last week was the nail in the coffin. You couldn't move the ball down the field in 5 plays or 6, 7 plays or a minute and a half or whatever it may be to get a field goal. That was a huge mistake. For the talent he had with Warren in that game was like so stupid. That was it. That was the last nail in the coffin. But at the same time, you can't expect this offense just to go out there and score 40 points. Now, if they do go and score 40 points, I will be absolutely ecstatic it happened. And then you'll see the clear difference between the team and how Matt Canada was holding them back, right? There's still a bit of pressure on Faulkner, a bit of pressure on Mike Sullivan. At the same time, though, I don't want to hear this, overall expectation that Kenny has to win right now. We want to see him get better. We want to see him play good football. We want to see him do the right reads, find the right targets, all that kind of stuff. Step up into the pocket, don't spin move out of it, and keep continuing to develop into a good quarterback. How we saw in the offseason and also how we saw near the end of the year last year, where every week he was getting better and winning games. And then this year, for some reason, under the Matt Canada system and this offense with everyone around him, it just wasn't working. It wasn't working. And that's why the Steelers made the change. So one thing I want to say is expectations. We have to lower them just a little bit. Whatever you have now, bring it back. If you think Kenny's going to go out there and throw 3 TDs, bring it back to 2 or 200. They should be running this football. That's what the Steelers should be doing, in my opinion. Second point is, I just want to bring up again is the excuses. I don't want to hear about that. It's one or done mentality. It's not. The Steelers have 7 games to go, right? 7 games to go. And just because Kenny now doesn't play well in the next few days versus Cincinnati in a hard environment to play, it's hard enough going into Cleveland now with their good defense, but also going into the Bengals territory. And yes, they have no Joe Burrow, right? But I don't want to hear that he has no excuses. It makes no sense to me. You can't just move on your negative narrative of blame this guy, which is Canada, and now he's fired, to focus all your attention to say, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't Canada, maybe it's Kenny Pickett. Doesn't make any sense to me, right? It makes zero sense. So try and move on from that. Don't hold a high expectation, and don't also have the idea of, well, what are the excuses? It just, this fan base sometimes can frustrate me. The Steelers aren't playing good football, but it can frustrate me. They're not playing good football right now, but we still have a chance to be in 6-4. You go in there, you take care of business, hopefully with TJ Watt chasing down Jake Browning. And that's the other one too, is the comparison, right? There's a saying out there as well that comparison is the thief of joy. All the times we see quarterbacks in this league do crazy things, and we compare him to Kenny Pickett. We can compare CJ Stroud to Kenny Pickett. We compare Josh Dobbs to Kenny Pickett. We compare Dak Prescott yesterday in his game, 45-10, right, to Kenny Pickett. We compare all these quarterbacks around the league to our quarterback. Comparison is the thief of joy. There's none in that. When you compare your quarterback or your guy, that's my quarterback, to someone else in the league doing better or doing different things in a different environment and also in a different offensive system, if you compare that, then you're robbing yourself of joy of watching the Steelers. For what it is, at the very end of the day, the Steelers are not going to move on from Kenny Pickett. They're not going to. They're not going to say, okay, it's failed. It's a failed experiment after 22 games. We've had it for 2 years. That's it. They're going to go throughout this next 7 games. They're going to see what happens. They fired Matt Canada for a reason, for have a chance to go to the playoffs. See how the new game plan works out. And then next year, however far we go into the playoffs, or if we make the playoffs, then next year you figure it out by getting some offensive line help. Maybe you get a playmaker or two. Maybe you get a guy on the defense. I don't know. You get some more guys drafted. Some more free agents come in. You let Omar Khan work. And you go into year 3 with Kenny Pickett again. And hopefully with a new offensive coordinator coming in. Well, I don't know who that one may be. That's the plan right now. It's not if this game Kenny doesn't excel, Kenny doesn't do this, X, Y, Z, then we all turn on him. That doesn't, to me, show any faith in the quarterback or faith in the Steelers if you do that. If you want to turn on Kenny, and some already have, I've seen numerous posts out there, numerous videos saying, I'm done with Kenny. I don't even know what that means. If you're done with Kenny now and Kenny next week or in 2 weeks' time versus the Cardinals and Patriots goes 3-0 in victories, maybe 6 TDs, 5 TDs, and 1 interception and wins all these games, if you're done, are you allowed to come back? If you're like, I'm done, I'm over him, I can't stand him, I'm done. Or are you just waiting for him to get better and play good football and then jump back on the bandwagon? That's the thing that annoys me the most. Once people are done, I am done, right? I was done with Claypool. I can't stand Claypool, right? Don't like him as a person, and I didn't like him as a receiver. I said he was one of the worst receivers I've ever said, and I was actually done with him. And then he ended up leaving. But with Kenny Pickett, if people are saying I'm done, what's behind that? If you're done and he does do well this weekend, wins the game, do you walk back on your words and eat some crow? I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyways, guys, that's it for my bit of video today. It's nice and cool here in Australia. It's 9 a.m. as I start to wrap up. 3 things I want to say. Expectation before I end. Expectation. Okay? Lower them. Lower your standards. A little bit. Just a little bit. Excuses. Don't worry about that narrative. That narrative to me is dumb. Kenny Pickett has no excuses. That is just crazy to me. They just fired his offensive coordinator 4 days ago. That's an excuse, right? You can't have them just going like, anyway, you just, look, don't worry about that. That makes no sense to me. And also, comparison is a thief of joy. Stop comparing Kenny Pickett to all these other quarterbacks in the league and saying, I wish I had that. The grass is greener always on the other side. And lastly, would you rather be a Jets fan? I'll see you later.